Well, hello, and welcome to the Clue Bird. I'm your host, R. Wayne Browne, and I'm also the author of the book, The Clue Bird. Today, let's discuss Just Earn It. What, you ask? Well, I hear you. So just hear me out for a minute. If you can, play along with me for a minute as I want to point out that you and I are pretty similar in many respects. We have a lot in common. For example, when we were born, we were both completely dependent upon someone tending to us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with no time off for vacation, sickness, or even being exhausted, as we obviously couldn't be left alone for very long. This we have in common. By the way, I know that last part really well. The part about being exhausted, because as a caregiver, and hey, maybe you as well, was a single parent and was often exhausted, very exhausted raising my kids. It even turned my hair prematurely gray. So growing up and getting a little older, we started learning how to do new things like walking, talking, playing, and learning to behave. Well, maybe just a little. So we still had much in common at this point growing up. You would have to agree. A little older still, and elementary and middle school came and offered us a chance at learning more difficult subjects, making many new friends, playing sports, obeying, doing assigned chores, and behaving. Once again, I think you would agree, we still had much in common. A little older now, and maybe in high school or just starting college, and we faced even more chores, maybe our first real job, even more difficult schoolwork, numerous extracurricular activities, and a development of our social skills. Life for me, it seemed, was getting harder and harder. I know I felt like my life was getting busier and busier, and I felt like I was falling behind. At this point, I think we would agree that we still had a lot in common. I feel like at about this point in our lives, we all came upon a fork in the road. And growing up and our lives might have started to differ at this point. If we selected and continued one way at the fork, we just simply continue doing the same thing that we've always done. Acting childish, whimsical, maybe a little lazy with no direction, no effort, and doing what we must do last with little effort. I was a master at that. Just do what you want was my mantra. It was the only way I had learned how to cope with growing up to this point. Hey, and maybe you felt the same. However, and maybe not like you, but about this time I started feeling serious difficulty in my life. I was starting to fail in school. And even at extracurricular activities like sports, I felt frustrated and embarrassed sometimes. I felt like I was busy, working hard, but getting nowhere. I was getting angry at myself often and at seemingly everything. Home life was miserable as well. I was busy but with little progress, and worse, I was falling further and further behind. I had no goals or clear intention, and I was directionless, like frantically paddling a small boat with no rudder. I was falling way behind my friends. How did you feel then? Maybe the same way? If not, then maybe our lives started to differ at this point. I languished for a while, staying on the wrong road at the fork. I stayed there because it felt safe, and it was all I knew. However, on that familiar road, I kept acting as a kid in a new adult world. I didn't change. I just kept acting as a kid in a world fast growing up around me. I was reacting to life. I was behind in life. I was falling further and further behind. Out of frustration, I finally changed roads. I realized, finally, I had to change. The delay had cost me needless pain and suffering as I was working hard with no direction. So to change, I started mimicking the successful students. I realized that my life was getting much harder and more difficult, and I had to change. So I changed overnight with a simple decision to do so. And then I finally got organized. I started acting like them. I became friends with the successful students, and they taught me how to change and get on and stay on the right road. Suddenly being on the other road, or the correct road after the fork, man, my life got easier. I started setting goals on many issues such as school, sports, and extracurricular activities. I set goals for the current year, the next year, and 5 years out, and I mentally worked backwards from my goals to the present. It gave me a rudder on my boat and gave me direction. By setting goals and having clear-cut intentions, I was suddenly working frantically to my goals. I made progress, and I was getting things done. I was predicting my life and staying ahead and finally succeeding. I was on the right road finally. However, I was finally going down the right road, and that set the stage for something new. With goals, and now with a purpose and direction in my life, there was suddenly a need to work even harder, to earn it. It was time for me to learn that nothing is free. No one is owed a perfect life. Goals, hopes, and dreams are identified, and then they must be earned with hard work. I learned that success is not handed out like the participation trophies we once got for breathing. I felt like my goals and dreams were in my heart, but they still seemed out of reach to me. I needed to find another gear to work even harder. I realized I learned to work smart by getting on the right road, and I defined my goals and dreams. That gave me direction to work to something. Now I realized, in addition to working smarter, I now had to work even harder, to do whatever it took to earn the prize, to be a winner in life. It reminds me of a news story I saw about a basketball player that was pulled over by the police at 4 a.m. And he was running down a freeway in the snow and told the police he was working out, trying to stay ahead of the other players he was competing with. He was afraid if he didn't work hard, they might get better than him. Man, that's working hard. Or I once visited a fellow student of mine to study some homework. And when I got to his house, walking through his garage, I saw a large net, 3 large buckets of baseballs, and about 10 baseball bats. Later, after studying, walking me to my car, he told me that after homework, he hits 300 balls every night into that net off of the batting tee before he showers and goes to bed. That was in addition to staying every practice. He would stay late just to get in even more work. Hey, consider the military and maybe the special forces such as the Army Rangers. Where getting accepted and finishing the training is insanely difficult, requiring incredible effort. They earn it. These are warriors that have once again captured yet another dream of theirs. Absolute winners. So, get on the right road of working with direction toward achieving your hopes and dreams. But you can't stop there. Pursuing the dreams in your heart and the pursuit of excellence needed achieving those dreams requires extraordinary effort to achieve extraordinary goals. So just earn it. Just earn it. Hey, I'd like to thank you for tuning into the Clue Bird. If you like what you heard, hey, make sure you subscribe. Oh, hot tip. Until our next visit, I want you to consider what your life would be like practicing self-mastery using goal setting.